Okay, so moving on. So the next topic this week. So since we last spoke, we've had a bit more information around the VR world. So, oh, wrong button. Let me blow it up. The Oculus banner. There we go. So we've had a bit more of. So we've had some information about the Vive pricing now. Oculus has been pre-orders have been open for quite a bit as well. So we're sort of at a point now where we can have a bit more of a frank discussion about what headset's doing best, what you should buy. So I think at the moment it's quite difficult because I don't think many people sort of know the main differences between the Oculus and the Vive, and they're coming out at very similar price points, but they also have very significant differences about how they work, and specifically more about how they work on launch. So if you first of all go over, so I've made a quick slide, which I flashed up a second ago. So the price of the Rift in the UK is £499 or £599 in the $599 in the US, and the Vive is £689 in the UK or $799 dollars. Oh, I got it wrong twice in the US. If you do pay with euros or anything, I'm sorry that I didn't include your pricing, and please do forgive me.
Currency is okay with us.
Yeah, we don't have any issues. There's no discrimination. There's no hate for the euro here. So the recommended specs, as you probably know. So for the Oculus Rift and for the Vive, they're fairly similar. So you need either a 790 or a Radeon R9 290, which is both the same. 770, yeah, 970. Man, I just can't read or talk today. Which is the same for both. You also need an i5 or an AMD FX 835. I don't know why I can't read words today. My brain just doesn't work. So you need basically the same Intel i5 or AMD equivalent. 4 gig plus RAM for the Rift and 8 gig for the Vive, which is a weird, interesting thing. So for the Rift, you need HDMI 1.4 DisplayPort, same, boring. A USB 2 port or 2 USB 2 ports. That's actually wrong on the Oculus because you need 4 USB ports. I'm recommending, and Windows 7 or newer as the operating system, which is as expected, I guess. Hopefully, Microsoft don't lock out the Windows before the Vive and the Oculus comes out, and no one can install any applications.
Yeah, they won't approve it in the store.
Don't worry, Tim. We're watching for it. We'll be on the case if that happens.
Yeah.
So I think if we start this from a question from the chat, so Darko6977 has asked, do we think that VR is the future of gaming?
Big question.
That's a big question.
Who wants to answer that? Ryan?
So I will start by saying, yes, I do. And that feels like a horribly big thing to say. But having tried the Vive and the Rift, and especially the Vive, with some pretty cool apps, including I always forget what it's called, something Space Trainer.
Space Pirate Trainer.
Space Pirate, that's it. I always think it's Cowboys. I don't know why. Space Pirate Trainer was the one. For me, that was like the point where I was just like, okay, there is really something here that can be built on and developed. And the fact is, everyone that I've seen try VR, everyone that's tried VR has basically been like, okay, there's definitely something going on here, something that's worth developing on and looking at. So in that way, I think it is the future of gaming. How long that future will take to realize is a very different point. And whether it will come about through what is now our modern incarnation of VR is another question as well. Like, will the Rift and HTC Vive and PlayStation VR, will they be the ones to really launch it, or are we actually kind of looking even further down the road?
Fritz and Source seems to think that porn will be the key driver of VR.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Next question.
No, I mean, I agree in that way.
Well, you
can't ignore that.
They push streaming video. The reason we have YouTube and stuff now is because porn worked hard at developing streaming technology and stuff. I mean, a lot of all new tech. Anything, if it gets taken up by porn, then usually it's a fairly safe bet that
thumbs up.
Everything else. That's disgusting, Ryan. Jesus.
Oh, sorry. Not that way.
But yeah, porn. That's the thing. In VR. and it's happening a lot. There's a lot of documentaries about VR porn, and I should mention as well at this point that we all have both played on the Oculus consumer headset and had quite an extensive bit with the HTC Vive Pre as well. So
I was worried where you were going with that.
so we have. Yeah, so we have played on both devices quite extensively, so I think we are in quite a good position to give recommendations of what you'd rather buy. So, I mean, yeah, when it comes to... So, Lucas, then, from your perspective, when it comes to the Vive and the Rift, what do you think are, like, the key differences?
Well, the key differences, I suppose... I would say the display is pretty similar, and, two versions of both, and the display is pretty similar, and that's good. I mean, obviously, then the other thing really is just the tracking. Like in terms of the Oculus is definitely set out to be a sit down or stand up but stationary experience at this point. Whereas the Vive obviously tracks your heads and moves you around. You can walk in the space and it'll track your position. And so I mean they're the key differences, and I mean. What I'm interested to see is if developers will jump to one bandwagon or the other. Yeah. And my answer is, I think, eventually, I think there is a interesting thing where neither side has a killer app at this point. Yeah. And still be a big risk for big players to get involved at this stage. I know like Eve, Valkyrie are doing it. I know... that other spaceship game, the Frontier one.
Elite Dangerous,
yeah. They're obviously involved, but they're still relatively small players compared to, say, Activision and one of their studios involved or something like that. And the other thing being obviously the price is just really expensive. So I mean, I don't think a large number of consumers will be able to buy one until price comes down. That might be 4 or 5 years yet.
I think one of the key things to mention as well is what a lot of people are saying at the moment is about whether they'll be able to play Oculus games on the Vive, whether they'll be able to play Vive games on the Oculus. And I think moving forward, it's definitely a possibility that developers will look at doing that route. But they are very different platforms in that sense. So
yeah, that's true. But I'd also argue that at the moment, it's kind of true that they are sharing platforms quite nicely. Like a lot of the games that are on Vive are on the Rift and vice versa. Yeah. Like the ones that really are big difference is things like fantastic contraption on the Vive, where you need like a whole play area to move around in and stuff like that. But it's not a long shot to see many games coming out for both, but then having your exclusives in the same way we have Sony and Microsoft now. Although don't tell VR enthusiasts that, because they get scared when you talk about polar opposite platforms and having different market stores reach and all that stuff.
Palmer lucky as well. So even though there is no room tracking in the Rift as of yet, they actually have said that there is going to be full scale room tracking on the Rift. I'm right saying that, aren't I? They have said that.
Yep.
So even though they're not showing it, they're saying that it exists as well. And I think for me, that's the key thing between the Oculus and the Vive, is that Oculus have definitely rushed out to be first. I mean, with it coming with an Xbox controller, to me it sort of stinks a bit of we've rushed this out a bit too late. Like the Oculus Touch controllers don't come with the first launch box, which I think personally is a big mistake for it. If you do get the Vive, even though it is a bit more expensive, you get that full room scale tracking, you get controllers with it to actually properly play games, and you get everything you need. Whereas the Oculus, it's still very much more of an unfinished product, I think, than the Oculus is at this point. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I do agree, but I'd say that in a way the Oculus Rift is trying to be a slightly different system, which does fit the kind of Xbox in your hand idea, rather than the controllers walking around in an open space. And Lucas made a good point earlier about having a room and actually having the space. It's quite a different idea. I guess, Lucas, you can talk about that.
I think also in my head, Oculus is slightly targeting a more corporate and position, and if you like, their concern is not just games; it's other things as well. It is, making marketing experiences where, people can just, they can just, for business, for agencies who want to show off their products or things like that. I think the Vive is just immediately much more game orientated in terms of how it's been approaching people anyway. But then, as I say, I think that is the other challenge again, like with the Vive, is there is this obstacle space, and being lucky enough to have a lot, which I don't think many people, especially in like city centres and things, will have enough. The space in their flats or small houses, or whatever else, to just be able to set up the Vive with its little light boxes and then just carry on. But we'll see. And I mean, the other branch that Oculus have is their mobile side, which is quite interesting. So they'll have their with Samsung, they have the Gear headset, and so that's an interesting branch for them as well, where just gives them more. They can learn from more, more branches themselves.
It's good you brought up the differences between Oculus and Valve and HTC, because I think if I was gonna sink like all this money into like a VR headset, do I want to go with this unknown company that came from Kickstarter, that set everything up and then got bought by Facebook and are doing pretty much everything that their consumer driven line, like their supply chain's all completely new, their game library's all going to be completely new, they don't have anything they can really feed into, they have to do everything from scratch? Or would I rather trust Valve and HTC, both with HTC, they have proven track records of releasing products. Valve, they can tap up the entire games industry. And I think when it comes down to safe or bets, who would I hedge my money with? I think it's got to be HTC and Valve, just because.
I disagree. I don't disagree in terms of. I think the Vive's the better product as it stands today, but I do think the Oculus is trying to spread its bow wider, and I think if it really went very well, they could really corner it. I mean, the big thing for me, for example, is social side, and that's where I think Facebook could really come in to its own. Is if they start making VR experiences purely for Facebook and they get that market penetration, who's going to care about the Vive in 5 years' time? If especially from a dev standpoint, if you want to make money, you can start targeting that as a much more larger user base rather than the Vive, which is going to have a smaller percentage. It's a bit like the whole console dilemma of one console being the clear winner and everyone's developing primarily for that one, then the other console gets a small little a sort of rubbishy port.
I think Facebook's market though, it's like they have all the big social reach to people. Oh, the police. They have this big reach to people, right? But like, so look at who the type of people that play on Steam and buy games through Steam are the type of people that are going to enjoy this technology the most, potentially. And for gaming, they're going to be the ones most likely to buy it. With Facebook, you got like Candy Crush and like Farmville and all these Facebook kind of games. And I think the markets are just, if you're looking at driving like targeted stuff to people, like, Facebook can make they can push and they can try as they want to get into PC gamers, which they basically are trying to do. But Valve already have all the PC gamers using their systems.
But the PC gamers are still their market, absolutely, but they're not the only market. And I think this is where, if you like, that's the different approach from Valve and from the Vive. Is I think ultimately it doesn't matter this round who wins, as long as who sells more, who does whatever else. It actually matters who has the best potential to reach further.
Yeah. And
by pure definition, by pure volume, I'd have to say that would be Facebook. That is Oculus. We see it more and more where, especially where people go to trade shows or whatever else. You see more and more new people try VR for the first time, and it doesn't have to be PC gamers to pick it up. There are other people. PC gamers most likely to, because they're innovative, but they can also be quite risk averse. Whereas I think actually it's going to be technology enthusiasts and people like that who are actually going to pick perhaps first, where they're not necessarily quite tied into this idea of games. I think games are a great example where they show the uses of VR, But I think, to be honest, again, it will come down to this thing of actually one of them having a killer app that will attract both the hardcore PC game market and a more casual market to its platform. And I think Facebook are in a better position to do that in the longer term.
Ryan, you
I'd
like
also
trying to
argue that-
talk.
Well, I think that basically you can't underestimate the fact, and I see what you mean in terms of like, Oculus being a new company, all that kind of stuff, but you can't underestimate the fact that every time I've seen people mention VR, or if I've spoken to someone about VR, the thing they say is like, oh, that like Oculus thing. And it's like that's very telling. They may be a new company, but they have they're very much representative of what VR is at the moment, and people know that as VR, and that's going to be quite powerful, I think, over the coming year.
Yeah, they've had 2 years of marketing ahead. It's just,
Exactly.
it's just how do you beat that? That's a huge head start.
And I guess, go on, sorry.
No, but again, this is the thing is, we have tried both and are lucky enough to have tried both, and we can make that judgment almost based on us trying. There's going to be a huge percentage of the market who don't even get a chance to try either, and they're going to have to make a decision practically blind. Now, who are they going to trust? The company that are associated with absolute, actually kicking off the whole VR trend, or HTC Vive/Valve, who haven't marketed as much. Yes, they have the Steam connection, but we don't actually know what that's worth today. So yeah, I'm not sure it's quite such a clear-cut decision for.
But if you do want to buy one, get the buy.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with that today. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, AOL owned the internet at the beginning, and what's happened to them now?
That's true.
That's true.
In fact, if you look at all the companies that started off on the internet, none of them really innovated quick enough to keep to that. Facebook came later, YouTube came later, Google came later. All like the early starters and adopters people just died out because they got too stuck doing what they're doing. And I think it might be similar with this VR stuff now, whereas in a couple of years, Oculus could collapse and fold, and HTC and Valve will rule. But
I highly doubt it.
You never know. Sticking to the topic though, so if we get on today, I said, right, I've got enough money here. I'll either get you a Vive or an Oculus. Ryan, what would you go for?
Definitely the Vive, as I said. So like, from what I've played, for me it's like a complete transformation of what I've done before when I'm gaming, and that feels like the right way to go. It's just quite an incredible piece of kit, really.
And Lucas?
I'd buy the Vive today, but to be honest, I'd hold off until there was something that that actually was. I mean, there has to be this killer app. There has to be this thing that makes it worth buying one over the other. And if one side made that thing, I'd go with whichever side did it.
Yeah. And so we've got one question from chat that I think we get to answer. So it says, do you guys think that'll be big hardware companies like AMD, Nvidia, Intel be making their own VR products? Personally, the dilemma is just the beginning of something much bigger. Ryan, what do you think?
So I would say no, which is a very definitive answer, I know. Basically because it's untested water at the moment.
Wait, whoa.
I think that
their own VR products, AMD and Nvidia, make graphics cards, which are basically VR products, I would say.
But there's definitely an argument to say that would be like them releasing a mobile phone or a TV.
Well, AMD have their they have their own, whatever they call it.
Well, Nvidia have the Shield thing.
Well, they've got but AMD have their VR ready. They've got a thing that's called something. I do know. I'm going to Google it now.
Yeah, but it's a marketing ploy. I mean,
yeah, it's just pure. Yeah,
Nvidia have their VR ready thing, which I can bring
Liquid
up now.
VR, AMD. There you go.
Yeah, but that is just that's a marketing tagline at the moment.
I think it's a slightly different question of yes, they probably might make their own, but will they be successful? I'm not sure they would have and this is going to be the interesting thing at the start of this whole process now is there's other platforms like OSVR, and then Cardboard, and then the Dolphin, the fish one or something.
Fish VR.
Fish VR, whatever that is, and it's just like you know, someone's got to lose,
Yeah.
and someone will lose badly, I think, but we'll see.
One day. So if you are watching and you are wondering what to buy and you want to buy something soon, buy a Vive. I think we're saying.
Wait.
The Vive is absolutely
Seems
awesome.
to be what we're saying.
I think it is.
It
sort
is
of.
really cool.
It
It's
is
so cool.
The Vive is awesome.